Hi there, welcome to Office Talk, Episode 8. I'm your host, Jeremy Brown, along with Michael Robinson. Today we have guests Lucian Parrish and Bradley Zeitler. Lucian, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the MMA?
Yeah, I've been a wrestler for a while, and I left when I was 8. When I was in 8th grade, Cage Combat MMA asked me if I wanted to fight, so I said yeah, and I've been doing it ever since.
Who was the promoter for Cage Combat MMA?
The promoter was Greg Aaron.
Okay, so how did he find out about you?
My dad, well, we have a lot of people that fight for him, and he just asked me, he's like, is there someone to fight? And then my dad was like, yeah.
You remember your opponent?
Yeah, it was Jeremy Preston. We went out there, I took him against the cage, I hit him, and then he tried to run, so I suplexed him on his neck, and I ground pounded him from then.
So you're just a high-power wrestler, and you wrestled in school, so that's what you use in the cage, right?
Yeah, I use that in the cage a lot.
Okay. I see you use also a lot of ground and pound. This is unusual for a 15-year-old. You are 15, right?
Yeah.
That's young for a MMA fighter. Most in generally, you hear of people starting at 18 in the cage. But here in Michigan, since it's not a sanctioned state, that's how you're able to fight at the age of 15. I see a lot of ground and pound. Where do you get this ground and pound nature from when you're a wrestler at school still?
It's more of an instinct than I learned, because you get them down, you just want to get the fight over and just ground and pound them out.
Do you have any background in street fighting?
Nah, I don't street fight because you get in too much trouble.
That's right. That's good. That's good. Do you have any other training other than just wrestling?
I do train with a guy named Chris Sanchez when I first started, and then I went to a karate tournament in Holland and I won that.
What do you train with Chris Sanchez?
He does more MMA, but he knows Johnny Garcia, a lot of big name boxers, and he had them come in and work with me.
So you got a little bit of boxing with them guys.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of boxing, or how long would you say you've had in the training with boxing?
Maybe altogether a couple months. There's a gym, Warriors Quest, and I can't think of the location right now, but Greg Aaron's runs it, and we box down there too.
Do you have a big reputation at school, being the age of 15 and fighting in the cage, being a wrestler? I heard you also play football. Do you have a big reputation in school?
Yeah, cause I started on the varsity team as a freshman for wrestling, and people know that I'm a really good wrestler.
What is your record now as an amateur mixed martial artist?
My record's 8-0.
That's impressive. At the age of 15.
Yeah.
What's the oldest guy that you ever fought?
The oldest guy, it was Timothy Spancel, and he was 19.
Good. Does people fear you in school when you walk down the hall or when you talk to people? Do you think that, like, you got this reputation as a bad boy?
Ours is more respect.
It's more being humble than trying to be cocky. And my school is a little school. We got a lot of people that think they're gangsters and stuff, so they want to try to fight you and not fear you, but they won't try to fight you in the cage, so I just leave those people alone.
That's good. Would you say you're a good role model?
I try to be a good role model for my little brother and sister. I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, no one is, but I try to be as perfect I can for them.
Do you get a lot of support from your family?
Yeah, I get a lot of support from my family, especially from my dad. He's the one that's got me into it, and he likes to watch me do it.
We also have Bradley Zeitler. How old are you, Bradley?
17 years old,
17 years old and fighting. What's your record?
5-0.
5-0 as an amateur mixed martial artist. That's pretty impressive as well. What weight do you fight at?
I fight 145.
And the fights that I've seen have been pretty impressive. What would you have to say about your last fight?
I think I did all right, but I was going in with an injury, and so I just wanted to try to hurry up and finish it.
Who was that that you fought? Was that Jeremy Wood?
Yes, it was.
And he fights Jackson MMA, I think?
Yep.
Okay.
That was for the title.
145.
Can you tell us how that fight went?
It went pretty well. He caught me in the beginning, and then I just got him up the cage, and he kind of dropped his hands and left an open spot with the jab, and I just kept doing that on the ground. And then from there, he kind of rolled over, trying to protect his face. I just put him in the armbar.
How did you prepare for that fight? Knowing it was a title fight, did you prepare differently from the other 4 fights?
I kind of did, but with my injury, I didn't train much, so I was trying to protect that and let it heal.
You've been pretty dominant out there. Would you say the competition that you fought has been top level competition, or would you just say that your skill level is top notch?
Some of the people have fought, I don't think they have much training. Most of them have been older men that smoke or drink a lot. So I don't think I'm really that good, but I think I would be fighting better people.
I've watched a lot of your fights, and I would say that you've evolved each fight. And you started out using your wrestling, and this last fight you really evolved and used a lot of stand-up. Would you say that was the case?
Yeah, because I used to be terrible at stand-up, and it's just been progressing. I've been getting better.
Who do you train with?
I cross-train with gyms. I'm an independent fighter.
Okay, so you train with just about anybody.
Yeah.
And you're still in school?
Yeah. I'm a junior this year.
Okay. What school did you go to last year?
I went to Penn High School, and now I'm going to New Buffalo.
Wow, New Buffalo. Have you started going there yet, or is there still a transition?
They don't start school until after Labor Day.
Okay. So you don't even know what it's going to be like going to the new school, New Buffalo.
Not at all.
Do you think you're going to be liked there?
I think it might be a little bit easier than Penn because Penn was such a huge school, and then New Buffalo, their school has a middle school and high school combined, and it's still a lot smaller than Penn.
As for your title defense, have you thought of anybody, heard of anybody that's coming up for your next fight for the title?
I have gotten a challenge. I can't remember his name, but I don't think I'm going to fight him until about 3 more months.
You know where he fights out of?
No idea.
That might be cool.
Do you have anybody in mind that you'd like to fight? Has there anybody been on your radar that you think would give you a challenge or interest you?
There is one guy, Blake King.
Really, Blake King? You know he's a powerhouse and stud wrestler.
Yeah.
That would be
What?
an interesting matchup.
What intrigues you about fighting him?
He's the best guy that I've seen in my weight class.
He's looking for the challenge.
Yeah.
What do you think you're gonna have to work on most for that fight?
A lot of takedown defense because he's a great wrestler. He trains with a lot of pro fighters, so pretty much everything.
You know anything like his record? What's his record?
Pretty sure he's 9-0.
Bradley, that's quite the announcement that you would fight somebody the caliber of Blake King. That just goes to show how much heart and that you have and the level that you want to hit. Is there any other fighters, any names that you know of that interest you?
One is Jordan McGuire. I heard he's 9-0 and from Jackson MMA.
Lucian, do you have a fight scheduled?
I don't have any at this day right now.
Do you have your eye on any competition out there?
Well, one of my fights at Michigan, not Michigan, the West Michigan Wars, the 125, I think it's Antoine Wiseman. He beat James Flory for the belt. And James Flory is a good friend, and I grappled with him one time, and I pretty hurt him pretty bad. I broke two of his ribs and both tendons in his knees, and I think if I trained pretty well, I could take Antoine Weigman.
So is that a possible opponent then? Are you calling him out as you'd like to fight him?
Yeah, maybe in the near future, I'd like to fight him.
Sounds good.
Great. We're going to take a short commercial break. Don't leave your seats. When we come back, we'll have Bradley Zeitler's stepdad, Randy Coates. I would like to thank BNC Nutrition for all the supplements they've sent me and my team, Next Level MMA. If you need any help with any supplements, please contact bncnutrition.com, or you can look them up on Facebook, BNC Nutrition. Welcome back to Office Talk. We have Bradley Zeitler's stepfather, Randy Coates. Randy, what part do you play in his MMA career?
Well, as of late, it's been scheduling his fights, looking at fighters that promoters want to match Brad up with, getting them training, just overall looking at the videos and things of other fighters to help him prepare for the upcoming fights that he's going to have. And then, as of recently, also helping him in his corner during his fights as well.
Now, out of each promoter, say they give you 3 fighters, what are you looking for out of them fighters to set him up with a fight?
Well, knowing personally Bradley and how his past fights have gone, we're looking for fighters that are good matchups for him, that can take him and push his ability inside the ring. So it's not necessarily an easy fight just to get wins underneath his belt, but to get him the best fight so that his training comes into play to that, so that he can, showcase all the hard work that he's done.
Never take a step back, always take a step forward.
Absolutely, and there's, with all the promoters, they have various fighters, and we want to make sure that we're giving him the caliber of fights that's going to keep him going in the direction that he needs to be going in.
As a manager, stepfather, playing a big role in his MMA career, do you catch a lot of negative comments and people just throwing negativity your way with him only being 17? I know he started fighting at the age 16 as well.
Correct. Not so much personally towards me. I think there's a little bit in the state of Michigan with it being young fighters, but that's why we have our part. That's why I take a part and look at the fighters and make sure that they're good matchups, so that there's no controversy of who he's fighting. And him being young, he's prepared. We're putting him in the right fights, and making sure that his best interests are first and foremost. So that later on he's aware of what decisions should be made. So when he takes over that position, that he can continue to make good decisions for his career as a fighter.
Do you roll with the flow? When he says something, is this the way it goes, or do you have any say in it?
Sometimes I have a say in it, but usually I let him decide because he knows what's best for me.
And he hasn't let you down yet? Good.
Confident in all of this picture. Do you guys sit down and watch like videos together, or mainly is it just you to sit down and watch videos, you take notes and go over them with them, or?
It's actually a whole family venue. We all sit down and look at the fighters. There's so many different types of fighters out there, and you have to look at all of their fights, especially with all the videos and things that you have now. So it's a lot of work, to put it together to just make sure that they're good fights for him.
Off this last fight, you went over videos and stuff. What were the key points you picked out on this guy, this last fighter for the title fight?
Well, the last fighter with Wood, he had a pretty good record. He was a good fighter. He held some good decision wins and wins over other fighters. But, we prepared by watching his pace that he had in the fight and what we could attack from that, pushing the pace, not letting him pace the fight. Things like, those are things that we're looking. What's his ability? Is he going to stand up? Is he going to shoot? And every fight is different, and with every fighter that they fight, you have to react different as well. So That's why there's so much work going in to prepare for your opponent. It's easier for Brad to be concerned about training, and we can concern about the details and give him a direction for his training, so that he's prepared when it's time to get in there.
Good point. That's a very good point. As a manager, I can relate to that, so I commend you on that. Would you say that you got your eye on any Indiana promotions? Because he's fought all his fights in Michigan.
Correct.
Would you want to fight in Indiana when he comes of age? Because he is only 17.
Right, and those are things that we're considering, but we know that that's down the line. There's a lot of good productions in Indiana, and promoters and shows that we've been to as fans, and that's something that the future is going to hold for Brad when we get to that point. So as of right now, we're just kind of taking it day by day and looking at fighters to gain him some experience. I think that's the best thing for him, is to continue to train, get experience in the ring while he can now, so by the time he turns that age where he can fight in Indiana and bigger shows and promoters, that he's prepared for that, and when that time comes, we'll do our homework on that as well and just keep going forward.
Would you say that competition in Indiana is different?
I would say they're more experienced with their gyms. Their shows have been more, I don't know if it's more organized, or it's just, they've had more time with sanction, with the state getting sanctioned, it's just a different type of show, and there's a lot more gyms and availability of fighters that have been fighting, just, where Michigan, there's some scattered shows and some great shows in Michigan as well. So I don't really know the insides of the Indiana fights, because we've been there as fans, basically, so like I said, when that time comes, then we'll start getting more involved into that and go from there.
So you haven't been looking at any one person from Indiana that's been fighting to specifically fight?
Well, we always look at the fighters, and as a dad and a manager, as you're watching those fights and you're kind of critiquing their fights and how you think your fighter and your son would be able to go up against those guys. So as far as names, there's not names there, but there are a lot of good quality fighters that Brad could get some really great fights out of, and I think that I think he's going to have a great opportunity once he does become that age to be able to fight some higher caliber fighters that are going to be some great fights for him as well.
Now, do you have a background in wrestling, mixed martial arts?
Not necessarily. It really was a fan-based start. Wrestling in high school, years ago, but a huge interest in it just from, growing up and watching the sport, because I'm older, you get to watch it develop. They didn't have UFC and MMA when I was a kid, so just as a fan base, an interest as a guy watching a couple of guys punch each other in the face, so that's where it came, and I'm learning as well, as Brad's learning his training, and I'm learning as we go along too. There's so many things that you have to keep on top of as you go. Like we said before, who are the fighters? What kind of fighters are they? So it's a huge learning experience for everyone involved, as a manager and the fighter.
How did his first fight come about? How did you bring it up to go around?
Actually, Brad had already had his first couple fights when I got involved, and with our relationship, we just kind of, we hit it off, and we have a lot of the same interest in the sport. So the longer it goes, the longer we've been together, the more we start to think alike, and it just helps us to make decisions, because we're both interested in the same thing and getting Brad where he needs to be. So we're just trying to go forward with that, you know, we're trying to, learn together how we both can coexist together, fighter, manager, you know, stepdad relationship, you know, so it's not just one little thing, it's a whole group that has to come together for it to work out with both of us. You know.
As a manager, you know, you're talking about learning, what's the one thing that you think you would want him to work on more, push forward for this next fight, to learn more?
You know, Brad has great heart. He has great ability and great composure. So it's the little things, you know, that you, after a fight, you watch the fight over and over and over, and you critique it. Not that there was anything wrong, but learn a little bit better, tighten it up a little more, have the hand up a little more with that when you throw that kick. You know, all those little things is what's going to build him into the, you know, to be a better fighter. So it's just always pushing him to, hey, look, when this happened, you know, when you threw your kick, you tried to grab, he threw a counter, so make sure you have the hand up, you know, and it's, you know, just review, you know, because even if, when you win, you can still learn what you did wrong during the fight.
Is there anything that you'd like to say to your manager, since you have an opportunity, that maybe you haven't told him, or maybe something that he already knows?
Just keep up the good work, doing good.
Awesome, so it sounds like you guys have a really good relationship.
We do. We, like I said, some people think that we're too much alike a lot of times, you know, and, you know, a lot of times dads vicariously live through their kids through sports, and, you know, sometimes if I feel like I need to punch someone in the face, I'll set up a match for Brad and let him go punch someone in the face for me. So it kind of works out for the both of us, you know.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. We're going to go to a short commercial break. Don't leave your seats. We'll be back with Office Talk. Welcome back to Office Talk with Lucian and Bradley. Hey Lucian, where do you see your future going?
Well, I at least want to go to college 4 years, and after that, I plan on going to the Navy and try to become a Navy SEAL. That's what I've always wanted to be. They seem top notch, and so I always want to be one.
Do you think your MMA career will help you in the future with those type of goals?
Yeah, definitely with the cardio and stuff, like the training, because they got to do a lot of training. I looked it up, and the training is very intense for the Navy SEALs.
How about you?
To keep being pushed in MMA and hopefully get to the next level when I get older.
You gonna stick with school?
Yes. I'm gonna graduate high school and then see where I'm at from there, and then go to college and keep fighting.
Is there any gyms that you look up to? Like for instance, if you see a fighter out there that's going to a certain gym, do you fear them or do you give them extra credit for going to that gym, maybe because you look up to the gym as being a superior gym?
I really don't look where they're coming from, because if you look at their gym and their gym's really good, that doesn't reflect on them. Just because they're at a good gym doesn't mean that they're good.
How about you, Bradley? What do you think about that?
Depends on the fighter. Like he said, they could be bad going to a good gym, and they could be good and going to a bad gym.
So as amateurs and spectators, pro fighters, you guys got any idols as pro fighters?
I think one of the idols I have is Andrew Sanchez. He's definitely a monster right now.
Is that a local fighter?
He's from Illinois. He went to McKendree for college, and he's friends with John Burns. And he doesn't fight around here. He travels a lot, and he's a beast at where he's at right now.
What about you, Bradley?
Since I started MMA, my idol was Brock Lesnar. I used to always watch his fights and try to mimic his moves.
How about you, Jeremy?
I'd have to say I like Forrest Griffin.
Forrest Griffin.
Yeah, I like Forrest Griffin. I like his heart. He got beat up, and he gets beat up all the time, and he just keeps moving forward. So that's why I like Forrest Griffin.
You gotta say St. Pierre, George St. Pierre. He's a grinder. You know, not most exciting, but he gets the job done and he comes out with little harm done to himself. So I love George St. Pierre.
Mike, do you have any fights coming up, man?
Oh yeah, I got one in Paw Paw for Warrior Mixed Martial Arts for this little baby right here, 185 title against Julio Martinez. And then I got Dave Lease, another one of the guys I train with down at Crow's Nest MMA in Sturgis, Michigan. He's fighting for a 170 title. And Jason Andrews, he's fighting for a 135 title contender spot. So we got 3 guys out of our gym fighting for pretty big spots, and a nice little promotion is coming up. So, Paw Paw, Michigan, September 7th. It's Fight for the Hunger too, feeding some people.
Good, man. Lucian, what would you say to anybody watching out there, maybe people you go to school with or maybe other fighters? What would you say to them right now?
I just say, don't let people keep you down, because some people tell me that I'm too young, and I'm not good because I'm young, but do what you want to do. Don't let people bring you down.
Good. What about you, Bradley?
Just follow your dreams, never give up.
That's a good one right there, man. Do you have anybody you'd like to thank, Lucian?
I definitely like to thank my dad, because he's a big part of what I do, and definitely my mom, and like all the people that, my family and the people that support me, definitely the fans.
What about you, Bradley?
I would like to thank my family, my mom, my mom's boyfriend, and my real dad, and everybody that comes out to support me.
Do you have anybody that you'd like to shout out? Anybody you'd like to recognize? Anybody at all? Any past coaches? Any other gyms?
Not sure.
What about you, Lucian?
Well, shout out to my dad and Michael and John Burns, because they've been there since I was little wrestling, and they've been helping me on my MMA too.
You're only 15. You've got a long ways ahead of you, man. And you started out on the right foot. You're 8-0, so that's one hell of a record that you've got. I'm sure everyone's got their eye on you. What would you tell any opponent out there that you may see in the future? What do you got to tell them right now?
I was very prepared.
What about you, Bradley? Any future opponents, it don't matter who they are, what do you got to tell them? What they got to watch out for?
Just be prepared too. Just make sure your cardio is good.
And I'm gonna tell you guys right now, watching these 2 guys fight, you have to watch out for their strong wrestling background. And Bradley Zeitler, his stand-up has come a long way. Every single fight, I see him evolve. He's got lots of potential, lots of power. He's doing spinning kicks now. He's got a lot of weapons in his arsenal. And he told me that he's going to mix it up with other gyms. So I just see this kid right here going a long way. I just learned a lot about Lucian Parrish through this interview, and I will have to say this guy has a bright career ahead of him, and he's only 15. He'll be wrestling this year for Decatur. And I would have to say, all you wrestlers out there on the mat, you better watch out for Lucian Parrish, because he's also training MMA, and that's just going to make him a stronger person with a bigger heart. And big shout out to you guys, and thanks for coming on the show. How can people contact you guys, Lucian?
You can contact me on my Facebook at Lucian Parrish.
You can contact me on Facebook too under Bradley Zeitler.
And you know how you can contact me, Jeremy Brown, on Facebook. I've got a page, Next Level MMA. Hit up our page. And Mike, how can people contact you?
I got 2 Facebooks, both under Mike Robinson. Just hit me up on Facebook. One's a page, one's a fighter page. So.
You know what it is. MMA Reality Show.